Greetings everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm your host, Captain Rye, and today's YouTube video comes from subscriber Madara1. And Madara is here in the Tier 10 Japanese cruiser, the Zhao, in World of Warships. As the battle gets underway, it's the Heaven map, it's Domination Match Mode, and Madara is heading towards the B cap point with a friendly destroyer. The Tier 10 Japanese cruiser, the Zhao. I was super excited when I got this for the very first time. In fact, the Zhao was my very first Tier 10 ship in the game. In fact, the Zhao was my very first Tier 10 anything in any wargaming title, and I was super excited to get my hands on it. And I was excited to get my hands on it partly because I wanted this ship all the way back in the alpha test, and I was never able to get it in the alpha test. But back in the alpha test, it wasn't called the Zhao, it was called the Senjo, which I honestly still prefer the name, and I still prefer the name because of the way it lent itself to puns. Specifically, people playing the Zhao or playing the Senjo would cause all sorts of terrible and untold damage to the enemy ships and send them to the bottom. And people could then go, and that's why it's called the Senjo, as in Senjo ass to the bottom. The Zhao just doesn't quite lend itself to those sorts of puns. Of course, back in the alpha test, the Senjo also had the 20-kilometer torpedoes, the same ones that you get on the Shimakaze, and it also had a faster reload on those torpedoes as well. Madara fires off torpedoes into the smokescreen up there at the B cap point as the enemy team secures the B cap point, but he does so and nearly manages to take out a friendly ship. It's one of those things, if you're playing a cruiser with torpedoes or a destroyer with torpedoes, you absolutely have to remember to pay attention to what's behind you. Take a quick glance back with your free cam. Torpedoes do find their mark, hitting home and securing Madara a first blood with those torpedoes. The other thing that I liked about the Zhao was that it had a good chance of fires, and something that I learned, unfortunately, quite too late when playing this ship was that you could fit the concealment module with Concealment Expert, and you could sit in the back at 19 kilometers, and you could stealth fire high explosive with this ship and just burn people down. Can't do that anymore thanks to the stealth firing nerf. However, if you do still fit it with a concealment module and a concealment expert, you can generally get the detection range down quite a bit. Not enough to stealth torpedo. Unlike the Mogami, which you can get down to stealth torpedo, the Zhao has those shorter torpedoes. They're fast, and they do a lot of damage, but you lose those 2 kilometers. Now, Madara is managing to light all sorts of fires on these ships, and that was one of the big things that the Zhao still very good at doing, is annoying battleships, specifically barbecuing battleships, until there's nothing left but a charcoal hull. And it looks like that battleship is having all sorts of serious problems as Madara manages to secure the second kill in the game by burning that ship down after it had taken a couple of torpedoes as well. But he's got a little bit of a bigger problem here as he's taking fire, and he does have to be careful when he turns broadside here. But of course, that enemy ship is actually firing high explosive. The Zhao has reasonable armor when angled, but when broadside on, armor-piercing shells do a lot of damage to this ship. Just like all of her predecessors in the Japanese street, she suffers from having very poor citadel armor. And that poor citadel armor can and does result in some large citadels. So you do have to be careful when playing this ship. Her stern, not the most well armored, and of course you have to be careful with that because you can have a magazine detonation if shells hit those torpedoes. It's very rare to get it from just that, but I have seen it happen. Now, Madara stops firing, drops off detectability range, and is going to start making his way to the B cap point. Now you'll notice that the enemy team has lost the vast majority of their destroyer force. They did start off with a destroyer advantage, and at this point, Madara's team now has the destroyer advantage, only having lost one. Madara turning hard and away now because an enemy vessel has come around the side of this island and definitely doesn't want to be out in the open broadside on if one of those battleships opts to sail around that island, because that could be a serious problem for the health of the ship. But continuing with the high explosive, does manage to set another fire. And those fires do stack up. It also means, if you can combine those with torpedo hits, that you can get yourself some nice medals in the form of witherers, arsonists, and liquidators. Incidentally, the liquidator is a medal that I seem to be having the hardest time with. Now, Madara has worked himself all the way over to the edge of the map, but he's kind of got himself a bit of a problem as he's getting shot at by two different battleships. As you can see, there are shots coming in from both the Yamato and the battleship that's hiding behind the island. Madara manages, fortunately, to avoid all of those shots as friendly Shimakaze lays a wall of skill towards those ships. And Madara has got himself in a little bit of a problem. He can't keep going the way he's going to go because he's just going to hit the edge of the map, and that's going to stop him. It's going to slow him way down. Simultaneously, he can't turn broadside on, or he's going to have a very bad time, as the Yamato there is just going to cause all sorts of problems. And the Yamato does take some hits from the Shimakaze and gets finished off through flooding. The Shimakaze's torpedoes manage to hit home on the battleship behind as well, causing more problems. Now, if you do find yourself in this situation, and you know you have the detectability range on the ship down, and you're outside of that range, it's worth noting that you should consider just stop firing, drop off detectability, and then make the turns and maneuvers that you need to. Sail away a little bit, and then pop up a little bit later. Madara manages to set even two more fires and has already earned a Confederate and a Witherer medal in this battle, and you can see there that damage just continuing to tick up and tick up and tick up. Now, the Des Moines, in my opinion, is a little bit better for fire starting. Not because it has better chance for fire, but because it has such a high rate of fire. So, you have less chance to set per shell, but you can put out so many more shots than you can in the Zao. Now, the Zao's reload time has been buffed slightly since I last played it. It used to be almost 15 seconds, it's now down to 12, which is a little more reasonable when dealing with these kinds of situations. Now, the real question is, can Madara secure another kill? The enemy team is very low on points. Madara's team is still definitely in the points and ships lead, as there are no more enemy ships left. Madara securing two more fires and a high caliber to go with the other awards. His team is in the process of capping D, and really the only thing left for the enemy team is the B cap point at this time. And Madara, along with several other ships, are closing in to capture that location as well. Now, that battleship is on fire in every conceivable location and definitely going to burn down, but who's going to get the kill? It's going to be Madara securing it through fires. And that's going to mark the third kill in this battle for our hero. The remaining enemy ships are all near the map border on the far end, or effectively behind that island there. But as you can see, there's nothing left in range that Madara can shoot at. His team has managed to secure the D cap point, and now they're in the process of securing the B cap point. And at this point, it really is all over, as the enemy team only has 2 ships left, one which is half health and one which is almost dead. So, at this point, the battle is all over. There's nothing left that these 2 ships can do, and given the amount of firepower coming their direction, it's going to be done as his team manages to secure 1,000 points and win the day. 190,000 damage done in that battle. Witherer, Confederate, First Blood, Devastating Strike, and High Caliber. Overall, a very good battle. A very good credit earned for a tier 10 game, and a very reasonable score. Only 3 kills though, but a lot of fires set. Just look at the number of fires set there. Of course, that is going to put him at the top of the team for XP earned at well over 2,000 base XP in this game. Anyway, that's it for today's video, folks. If you liked the video, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave a comment down below. If you'd like to get semi-regular channel news and updates, you can do so by liking and following me on Facebook. If you'd like to help support me in the channel, you can do so by becoming my supporter on Patreon. If you've got a replay like this one that you'd like to see featured on my channel, you can do so by sending it to my email. And if you'd like to watch me play World of Warships among other games live, you can do so by following me on Twitch. You can find the links for all of those in the video description down below. And as always, I'll see you next time. This is Captain Rye, signing off.